Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Viral. I'm your host, as always, Kendra Dix here. Glad you join us here on Viral. We talk about R&B singer Brandy reveals even more in her book called Phases about Rodney Jerkins, better known as Darkchild, her and the producer. But first thing first, join in the conversation using the hashtag Viral here on Connect. Here on Viral, we talk about Brandy releasing more on her memoir of Phases. Brandy says that her relationship with Rodney Jerkins had a good relationship, but it went south after he told her about Beyonce and give him more records and stuff like that and more money. We'll get to it. Let's hear from our very own Bob Evans. Bob, take it away.
Brandy is opening up about a moment that changed her career forever. In her new memoir, Phases, Brandy reveals the exact studio session where things fell apart with her longtime producer, Rodney Darkchild Jerkins. According to Brandy, the two were arguing like usual until it got personal. She says Darkchild looked her straight in the eye and said, "Go do what you're gonna do while I go sell 5 million records with Beyonce." Yes, Beyonce was brought into the middle of it. Brandy describes the moment as a gut punch, saying the humiliation hit instantly, and she knew right then their legendary run was over. This is the same duo that gave us classics from Never Say Never and Full Moon. But in one sentence, everything changed. And just like that, one of R&B's most iconic partnerships came to an end.
Bob, thank you for the informative insight. Bob Evans, one of the best in the business. One thing about Bob's going to keep it real and keep it straight. He's a great shooter. Well, we know that Brandy also revealed in her book, Phases. If you've seen a previous video on Viral, we talked about Wanye Morris. That video's out. You want to see that, how that relationship progressed and went south in a hurry. Same way with Brandon with Rodney Jerkins. Her and Rodney Jerkins had hit after hit from the almost never say never, almost doesn't count, Full Moon, the album, hit by hit. But now we see why the underlying tension between Brandy and Beyonce. Brandy says there's no tension between her and Beyonce. They're not friends, but they're industry peers and stuff. They cross paths, but been crazy. Let's hear of old footage of Wendy Williams trying to get Kelly Rowland at the time, who was Beyonce's group mate, Destiny's Child. And Kelly was also friends with Brandy to spill the secrets on what was going on between them two. Take a look. As you saw right there, Kelly and Brandy, they're kind of good friends, but that friendship almost got tested by the hands of Wendy Williams. But we kind of know now that Rodney Jerkins was the factor behind all that. Let's hear what you people had to say. You people had a lot to say. Let's hear what you people had to say on what people say.
So the fallout from Brandy's new memoir, Phases, continues, where she addresses how Clive Davis was part of what interfered with her relationship with Monica. She also talks about a fallout that she had with Kanye West. But you may have noticed over the weekend the bigger story, or the dig that Rodney Darkchild Jerkins made to Brandy, saying that you go do whatever you do while I'm over here making $5 million with Beyonce. Welcome back to the Campfire Channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. So last week, we talked a lot about Brandy and her new memoir. As you know, we had the honor of attending the conversation promoting the book that she had here in New York City, which turned out to be phenomenal. Well, now that more and more people are reading or listening to this book, things are coming out, things that I already knew, and I was waiting for some of these things to come out. Last week, it was about her feeling like Wanye Morris took advantage of her at a tender age of 16 years old. We've gone through that. So if you missed any of that, be sure to check out those previous videos, because we've already kind of gone through what was said in the book. However, other elements of the book are coming out. As you know, she also talks about her relationship with Whitney Houston, the multiple times that she almost met Whitney until that fateful day at the Nickelodeon Awards. So, but there were some other elements. As you know, there's been an ongoing battle between Brandy fans and Monica fans, which turned into something that happened between Brandy and Monica. As you know, they've since made up. They've toured the country together this past fall. Well, she talks about that relationship, but she also talks about what may have continued this beef between them. And it wasn't just the fans, and it wasn't just the industry. It might have been Clive Davis. So according to The book, shout out to our friends over at Buzzing Pop, they write Brandy reveals in her memoir Phases that Clive Davis caused the drama between her and Monica by announcing to the press that Monica's album would be named after their duet, The Boy Is Mine, as a way to claim ownership. A lot of people have been talking about Clive Davis, and they're waiting for Clive Davis to have his day when it comes to all the things that he may have done behind the scenes, allegedly, that were grimy. So she mentions that. And I remember hearing that back in the day, and I always thought it was weird. I was like, why would Monica name The Boy Is Mine as that album? And that's a phenomenal album. They could have named it a whole bunch of things. If anything, Street Symphony. That was an incredible album. But I also get from a business sense why Clive was trying to take ownership of that song, because it was a huge song. It's the only Grammy that these two women have won. It was a number one song for like 13 weeks. It was a huge song, so it made sense. However, we have to remember where the song began. Originally, that song was just Brandy's song. She wrote and produced it with Darkchild. She thought to bring Monica in on the song. So technically, I understand why you might feel away. Like, I brought you in on this song and you're going to name your album.
Because what audiobook are y'all listening to? When did Brandy ever say she was jealous of Beyonce? Brandy has been trending lately because her memoirs by the name of Phases had came out, but also she released the audiobook to it too. And she does the voiceover for her own audiobook, which we love. Now, in a specific excerpt that is going viral, Brandy discusses how her and her breakup with producer Darkchild had ended.
I don't even remember, but we were going at it like usual. The way siblings do when they know exactly which buttons to push. Only this time, he looked me dead in the eye and said, "Go do what you're gonna do, while I go sell 5 million records with Beyonce." The words landed like a gut punch. I stormed out of the studio. Humiliation burned through me like a wildfire. Left behind in the ashes was a sadder realization. It was time for me to move on.
Now, for some strange reason, that excerpt has got people in a tizzy because they think that it is Brandy admitting some sort of jealousy with Beyonce, when in actuality, Beyonce's name was being used to make her feel as though she was a lesser artist, or to make her feel as though whatever she was doing in the studio that caused that disruption between her and Darkchild was not good enough. And in turn, Beyonce would be selling 5 million records with Darkchild's help. This, the real villain. And I'm not seeing enough mudslinging of this one right here, because pinning two female artists against each other, specifically at the height of their careers, was really nasty work. My only advice is don't cherry pick through her memoir, because I don't think that's how the story is supposed to be told.
So originally, I wasn't gonna do a part 2 to the Brandy versus Beyonce thing, but one of my friends, TikTok friends, replied to me and said, like, I agree with you, and y'all can read the comment. I agree with you on a lot of things, but some things I don't agree with you on. I understand that Brandy's issue, and maybe I should have researched the whole thing, the whole situation of what she said or what she said happened. I only saw like something on Twitter and people reposting it instead of like reading the whole thing. I have not purchased Brandy's memoir. I probably won't purchase it. I might. We'll see. But I understand the backstory of that. Like in that situation, Darkchild was in the wrong. He was in the wrong for snaking Brandy. And I hate when, in the industry, because there's times where I've been burned by modeling contracts. For me just being a model and having, that experience. So I understand how the industry works. And Darkchild was wrong. He was wrong. However, I'm not saying that this situation proves that Brandy has an issue with Beyonce. It didn't matter if it was Beyonce or not. It upset her about the fact of you did not do what we agreed on and that you snaked me. And a lot of men in the industry do that. They will do poor business with women or say, hey, because I am also working with a bigger group than you, or I'm working with another artist who's just as big as you, if not bigger, they will use that and justify that as a way to do poor business with someone. And I don't agree with that. And I feel like a lot of women their career has not been able to flourish due to that, because the industry is very political. Producers are like, hey, would I rather work with this person who's a nobody, or this somebody, or is a newer artist, or this somebody who is a bigger artist, or this artist that is a legend, but is trying to make a comeback, and they haven't had a lot of commercial success as of recent, or let me get this artist who's also a legend, but is that's consistent and hot. So I understand the politics of the industry. However, that does not negate the fact that Brandy has been jealous of Destiny's Child and Beyonce. And so I was providing more context to the situation. It's everything that I said plus everything that you said. And so I get that. I get, okay, Brandy already has her own personal, I guess, issues with Destiny's Child or Beyonce. Plus, Brandy used to mess with Jay-Z, on top of the fact of this situation with this producer, because this producer is working with these artists, and this artist, that's why my project didn't become the way that I want it to be. So I feel like it's a mixture of everything that you said and everything that I said. All I was doing was providing more context when it comes to the behind the scenes industry stuff outside of and in addition to everything that you said. But the producer was wrong. And I don't like the fact that a lot of male producers, a lot of male executives, they pin women against each other. And there's a lot of talented female artists that if everybody did what they were supposed to do on their end, as far as producers, songwriters, the label, they would be a lot more successful than other people. So I don't like it that men do that. It's the same thing with the Carrie Hilson and Beyonce situation. Even though Carrie Hilson, and I'm gonna make a video about that, Carrie Hilson tries to act like she have amnesia, that she was not going on radio stations, interviews, that she was not doing red carpet interviews, bashing not only Beyonce, but Beyonce, Sierra, and Rihanna, saying that they're untalented, So regardless if what she's saying is true about the reason, the backstory of the diss track, Carrie Hilson was being shady towards Beyonce for years. She even told Beyonce that she needed to sit down and have kids. Like, Carrie Hilson was publicly bullying Beyonce for no reason. And then try to, years later, make a comeback and say, oh, that's not what really happened. But I do believe that producers and songwriters and men in the industry, they will put women against each other, and they will do some corrupt stuff to affect other women's success. And some women are prioritized more than other women because they are sleeping with that producer or because of their personal relationships. Like Dream, Beyonce's producer that she works with a lot, when Keisha Cole said what she said about Beyonce after she released Bow Down, the Dream said, oh, I'm not working with you because Beyonce is my sis, and for you to disrespect her, I'm not working with you. So it is a lot of favoritism in the industry. But I respect everything that you said, but that does not diminish what I said, because I gave y'all that behind the scenes tea that a lot of people that were around during that time, that work in the industry, that have worked with Brandy, that have worked with Beyonce, that have worked with these people, have said. On top of me just doing my own research and just me remembering how the 90s and the 2000s was. It was a lot of women that were intimidated by the success and the rise of Destiny's Child and Beyonce. A lot of people counted Destiny's Child out. A lot of people did. And across the board, it was very hard for Black women in the industry in the 90s. Like, it was like survival of the fittest. Everybody was trying to, get their big break. And it was a lot of men sabotaging them, whether it be producers, whether it be songwriters, whether it be record label executives, whether it be boyfriends, all this type of stuff. So, yeah. But I want to talk about the Carrie Hilson and Beyonce thing. I do. But no, I don't, because I pretty much said everything I wanted to say. But yeah, it's a lot of girls who throw shade at Beyonce on the back end and even publicly, and then they want to come out and play the victim, and I don't like that, because B does not bother nobody. Now, I don't know how she is behind the scenes, but everybody that I know that has worked with her or know people who work with her have said great things about her. So it is what it is. Reputation is everything, and how you treat people is everything, and karma is a B.
Y'all, Brandy did not say Beyonce's name for clicks and views and likes. That's not what this is. Y'all are trying to make this out into a Brandy versus Beyonce. That's not what this is. Now, maybe these social media sites are trying to spin it, But it's not that. I listened to the excerpt. I listened to what Brandy said in her book. Y'all in the comments talking about, I stand with Beyonce. Baby, it ain't Brandy versus Beyonce, though. That's not what she's saying. She's recounting a story about an argument that she had with a long-term producer that she probably thought was her friend, which is Darkchild. Darkchild was the one who threw Beyonce in her face. That's all she's doing is recounting an argument. I think it's because, number one, I think y'all lack comprehension. Number two, I think y'all are super young on this app. A lot of y'all who are commenting are probably less than 30. And if you're less than 30, you probably don't remember, or you just were not around to see how big Brandy was at one point. Brandy was huge. I'm going to say it again. I said it in my other video. I'm going to say it again. Brandy was an icon. I don't think y'all are just aware of how much fandom Brandy had. Brandy was everywhere. You could not turn on the radio and not hear Brandy. You could not turn on the TV and not see Brandy. There was no other teenage girl doing it like Brandy. She had hit on top of hit on top of hit, and then on top of that, she had 2 shows. She was our Cinderella. Brandy was up here at that time. So for him to throw that in her face, basically what Darkchild was saying indirectly is, your time is gone. Your time is done. I'm moving on to somebody that's hotter right now. And that person who was hotter was Beyonce. That's why she put it in the book, to show a shift. That's why she said that. It's painting a shift of how people were starting to view her, even her long-term or long-time producer / friend, which seemed like she thought that was her friend, not realizing that Darkchild is a producer. He gonna go with the artist that's gonna get the records. I mean, that's business. Was he wrong? Absolutely. Was he shady? Absolutely. Was it rude? Absolutely. Absolutely. But this is not a Brandy versus Beyonce, and that's what y'all are trying to make it seem. I side with Beyonce. I'm reading in the comments, I'm siding with Beyonce. Baby, ain't nothing to side with. Because Beyonce don't have nothing to do with this. This is between Brandy and Darkchild. This don't have nothing to do with Beyonce. You know what? You know what I'm thinking, y'all? We gotta bring those shows back. Those VH1 shows of I love the 70s, I love the 80s, I love the 90s. We need to bring that back. Because we got a whole generation of people out here that just don't know pop culture before they were born. That just don't know shit. It's like what did Kamala say? Baby, you didn't fall from a coconut tree or something like that. You didn't just fall out of a coconut tree, baby. There was life before you got here. You get what I'm saying? And Brandy was part of that life before you got here.
This is diabolical.
He looked me dead in the eye and said, "Go do what you're gonna do while I go sell 5 million records with Beyonce." I stormed out of the studio. Humiliation burned through me like a wildfire.
He is shedding light on the awkward relationship between her and Beyonce after putting a story in her memoir about her producer pitting them against each other. Situations like this definitely help create a better picture of the awkward relationship between Beyonce and Brandy. If you guys are unaware, Beyonce recently made headlines for going to the Boy Is Mine tour and speaking to everybody aside from Brandy, allegedly. From there, a whole narrative was painted about a historic beef between Brandy and Beyonce, which was shut down. We know better than that. And stories like this and people treating Brandy the way she was treated behind the scenes could definitely aid the way she feels about Beyonce. The producer I was working with and had multiple hit records with said they want us to go work with the next girl. Absolutely nothing to do with Beyonce, and she pretty much is just collateral damage, and people trying to rude and mean to Brandy throughout peaks and valleys of her career. Still pretty messed up that people are gonna just throw Beyonce's name out there like that. In terms times of Brandy mentioning Beyonce in this memoir, I'm sure B is not here for it. She does not like her name being in anything that is not positive or anything that seems like it's comparing to women. She didn't put her name in the memoir. She published the memoir, and now here we are talking about it. I'm curious as to how you guys feel about Rodney Jerkins pitting Beyonce and Brandy against each other. Let me know down in the comments. Peace.
Welcome back to another book club with Tyrone. Brandy's new memoir, Phases, isn't about the headlines. It's about her finally being heard. From Beyonce to Darkchild, Wanya Morris to Whitney Houston, I'm here to break down some of the biggest bombshells from her new memoir. First up, Beyonce and Darkchild.
Because I kind of feel like on my last album, I didn't get that.
How you feel like that?
It wasn't as like creative and forthcoming.
Brandy reveals the moment she knew her legendary partnership with Rodney Darkchild Jerkins was over. It's when he looked her in the eye and said, "Go do what you're gonna do while I go sell 5 million records with Beyonce." She calls it a gut punch and says that moment was a sad realization. It was time for her to move on. Then comes the most painful chapter, Wanya Morris of Boyz II Men.
They were saying she was really young when y'all dated.
Yeah, she was. Not that young.
Brandy opens up about being about 15 or 16, dating a 22-year-old Wanya, saying what she thought was a mentorship turned into a grooming. She also stated, "I was a child, he was an adult, and it's time the world understood the difference." She even touches upon Clive Davis starting her feud with Monica.
The Boy Is Mine, the song. All her.
Brandy explains that The Boy Is Mine was her idea, and that was meant to shut down the rivalry that the media had created. But without any warning, Clive Davis renames Monica's album to The Boy Is Mine, turning one song into a competition. She says that one move, not Monica, blew the feud out of proportion. Finally, Brandy reflects on Whitney Houston.
Don't you start crying and carrying on and stuff. Come here with your little pretty self. I'm so proud of you.
Brandy writes about their deep bond, describing her as a mentor, a protector, and a guiding light. She even opens up about their final conversations 48 hours before Whitney's death, saying that Whitney said, "I'm gonna be better." Bottom line, Phases isn't just a memoir, it's Brandy reclaiming her story. And honestly, long overdue. Have you read Brandy's memoir, Phases? Let me know in the comments.
I hate the song ridiculous. I hate it. But Brandy, Rodney Jerkins, Darkchild, we need another album. I'm sorry. Like, y'all gotta make up. Because we the people. I mean, we at least need you to make up enough to where Brandy can get this album out. You gotta give her your best material since Full Moon. Like, we don't need another Human. Human, like, okay. You know, I appreciate the vocals on it. You were trying to try something new, like the Bruno Mars vibe. It just doesn't work with Brandy brand. And I just feel like everybody keeps trying to replicate Darkchild on her current albums or her most recent albums, and the replication is just not there. We need y'all back together. I mediate. Come on.
You people said a lot. You people were not mixed up about neither war of Brandy or Rodney Jerkins. Some of you people believe that Brandy should have been more professional and let it be known, but some saying that Rodney should not even went there talking about Beyonce is gonna make him more money than Brandy. Now, kind of like you undermining Brandy. So we kind of get that on both sides. So however that side of the coin you want to be on. Thank you all for watching this edition of Viral. I've been your host, Kendrick Dixon. So long. We'll see you next time for another edition of Viral.